Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back to my channel Curious Microbiologist for Curious Kids. मी आहे मीनल आणि मी तुमचं पुन्हा एकदा स्वागत करते आहे माझ्या चॅनलवरती ज्याचं नाव आहे क्युरियस मायक्रोबायोलॉजिस्ट फॉर क्युरियस किड्स. Thank you for your great response on first part of Introduction and History of Microbiology. तुम्ही पहिल्या भागाला खूप 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 छान रिस्पॉन्स दिलात, त्याबद्दल तुमचे मनापासून आभार. चला तर मग आपला मायक्रोस्कोप पुन्हा उघडूया आणि आपल्या छोट्या जीवांच्या मोठ्या सफरीला सुरुवात करूया. Introduction and History of Microbiology Part 2. The controversy over spontaneous generation. The controversy over spontaneous generation was a long scientific debate about how living organisms originate. Spontaneous generation was the old belief that living organisms can arise from non-living matter. People thought that life could appear suddenly without parents. स्पॉन्टॅनियस जनरेशनवरील वाद हा जीवसृष्टी कशी निर्माण होते त्याबद्दल एक दीर्घकाळ चाललेला वैज्ञानिक वाद होता. स्पॉन्टॅनियस जनरेशन ही एक जुनी समज होती की जिवंत सजीव निर्जीव पदार्थांपासून आपोआप निर्माण होऊ शकतात. लोकांना असं वाटत होतं की सजीव कोणत्याही पालकांशिवाय अचानक निर्माण होऊ शकतात. सम ऑफ द सायंटिस्ट प्रूव्ड स्पॉन्टॅनियस जनरेशन. A scientist named Van Helmont believed that living organisms could arise from non-living matter. He proposed a famous recipe to create mice. Put a dirty, sweaty shirt in a container, add wheat grains, and leave it undisturbed for 21 days. He claimed after 21 days, mice would appear in a container. Van Helmont believed that the sweat from the shirt and the wheat somehow produced the mice. Further, an Italian physician and scientist, Francesco Redi, challenged the theory of spontaneous generation. His experiment was one of the first scientific tests showing that lives come from pre-existing life. Redi placed pieces of meat in 3 different jars. First, open jar, flies could enter. Second, jar covered with gauze, air could enter but flies could not. Third, sealed jar, completely closed. It showed maggots appeared only in the open jar where flies could land on the meat. No maggots appeared in the sealed jar or inside the gauze covered jar. He concluded that maggots come from eggs laid by flies, not from the meat itself. It provided strong evidence against spontaneous generation and supported the idea that living organisms arises from other living organisms. Another French scientist, Louis Joblet, also performed experiments to study the idea of spontaneous generation. He prepared 2 flasks containing nutrient broth. One flask was boiled and tightly sealed. The other flask was boiled but left open to the air. The result was microorganisms appeared only in the open flask. The sealed flask remained clear and free from microbes. So, it is concluded that microorganisms come from the air, not from non-living matter. English naturalist and Roman Catholic priest John Needham supported the idea of spontaneous generation. He prepared a nutrient broth from meat and vegetable and boiled it for a short time to kill microorganisms. After boiling, he sealed the flask with a cork. After few days, microorganisms appeared in the broth. He concluded that microorganisms developed spontaneously from the non-living broth. He believed that a special vital force in the broth caused life to appear. Another Italian scientist, Lazzaro Spallanzani, conducted experiment to test the theory of spontaneous generation. He boiled nutrient broth for a long time and sealed the flask tightly. No microorganism appeared in the sealed flask. He concluded that the microorganisms come from air and from existing microorganisms, not from living matter. Schroeder and Van Dusch were German scientists who performed the experiment to test the theory of spontaneous generation. They passed air through cotton filters before allowing it to enter flask containing nutrient broth. Result was no microorganism grew in the broth because the cotton trapped microbes from the air. They concluded microorganisms come from microbes present in the air, not from non-living matter. Louis Pasteur, a French scientist, played a major role in the development of microbiology and disproved the theory of spontaneous generation. He used flasks with long curved necks containing nutrient broth and boiled the broth to kill the microorganism. Air could enter the flask, but dust and microbes were trapped in the curved neck. Result was the broth remained clear and free from microorganism for a long time. When the flask was tilted and the broth touched the dust trapped in the neck, microbes began to grow. Pasteur proved that microorganisms come from pre-existing microorganisms present in the air, not from non-living matter. Finally, disproved spontaneous generation and supported the principle of biogenesis. Another scientist, John Tyndall, studies microorganisms and supported the work of Louis Pasteur against spontaneous generation. He showed that microorganisms are present in dust and air. He also discovered heat-resistant bacterial spores which can survive boiling. He proved the microorganisms come from existing microbes in the air, not from non-living matter. तर फ्रेंड्स, आजच्या या भागाचा सारांश माझ्या शेरेबाजीत दडलाय बरं का, नीट ऐका. मांसात आळ्या कशा येतात असा प्रश्न पडला भारी. फ्रान्सिस्को रेडी म्हणाले, माशांच्या अंड्यातून येतातही सारी. लजारो स्पेनंझने उकळून दाखवला प्रयोग नवा. लुईस पाश्चर म्हणाले, जिवंतातूनच जन्मे जीवन. झाला वादाचा शेवट हवा. या भागापासून आपण एका स्पेशल सेक्शनला इन्क्लूड करणार आहोत. तर ते स्पेशल सेक्शन काय आहे बरं? अननोन फॅक्ट्स ऑफ मायक्रोबायोलॉजी. नो, देर आर मोर मायक्रोब्स ऑन अर्थ दॅन स्टार्स इन द युनिवर्स. है ना इंटरेस्टिंग? जाता जाता तुम्हाला एक छोटासा प्रश्न कमेंट सेक्शनमध्ये नक्की याचं उत्तर सांगा बरं का. व्हॉट टूल डू सायंटिस्ट यूज टू सी टायनी मायक्रोब्स? द्या कमेंटमध्ये नक्की उत्तर द्या. उत्तर तसं खूप सोपं आहे, पण मी देणार नाही, तुम्हीच सांगा. तर आपली ही मायक्रोबियल सफारी कशी वाटली हे तुम्ही मला नक्की सांगा. भेटूया पुढच्या भागात. तोपर्यंत मायक्रोस्कोप बंद करूया आणि ज्ञानाची शोधयात्रा सुरूच ठेवूया. बाय अँड स्टे क्युरियस. व्हिडिओ आवडल्यास प्लीज लाईक. तुमचेच क्युरियस मायक्रोबायोलॉजिस्ट विथ क्युरियस किड्स. टाटा, बाय बाय.